Okay, everybody, good evening. This is the next installment in the series of Srimad Bhagavatam we've been doing now for some many months. And we're actually tonight on chapter 46 in the 10th canto called the Summum Bonum. And this is the chapter about Uddhava visits Vrindavan. And we don't look like we have too many readers with us tonight. So there's about 50 verses here. So I'll take 15. And Ranga, maybe you could take 15. Maharaj, if you want to grab 15. And if anybody else shows up, we'll give them the rest. Okay? So, as usual, we start out with pranams. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthaya Buddhale, Shimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devim, Gaudavani Prachadane, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Yadesha Tadane. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivas, Adi Gauda Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Uddhava visits Vrindavan. I'll take 10. Everybody else I'll do 12. Everybody else grab 12, okay? So I'll start out with the first verse. Sukadeva Goswami said, the supremely intelligent Uddhava was the best counselor of the Vrishni dynasty, a beloved friend of Lord Sri Krishna, and a direct disciple of Brihaspati. The Supreme Lord Hari, who relieves the distress of all who surrender to him, once took the hand of his fully devoted, dearmost friend Uddhava and addressed him as follows. Lord Krishna said, Dear gentle Uddhava, go to Braja and give pleasure to our parents, and also relieve the gopis suffering in separation from me by giving them my message. The minds of those gopis are always absorbed in me, and their very lives are ever devoted to me. For my sake, they have abandoned everything related to their bodies, renouncing ordinary happiness in this life, as well as religious duties necessary for such happiness in the next life. I alone am their dearmost beloved, and indeed their very self. I personally sustain such devotees who, for my sake, give up all worldly duties. My dear Uddhava, for those women of Gokula, I am the most cherished object of love. Thus, when they remember me, who am so far away, they are overwhelmed by the anxiety of separation. Simply because I have promised to return to them, my fully devoted cowherd girlfriends struggle to maintain their lives somehow or the other. Sukadeva Goswami said, thus addressed, O king, Uddhava respectfully accepted his master's message, mounted his chariot, and set off for Nanda Gokul. The fortunate Uddhava reached Nanda Maharaj's pastures just as the sun was setting, and since the returning cows and the other animals were raising dust with their hooves, his chariot passed unnoticed. Gokula resounded on all sides with the sounds of bulls and rut fighting with one another for fertile cows, with the mooing of cows burdened by their udders chasing after their calves, with the noise of milking and of the white calves jumping here and there, with the loud reverberation of flute playing, and with the singing of the all-auspicious deeds of Krishna and Balaram by the cowherd men and women who made the village resplendent with their wonderfully ornamented attire. The cowherds' homes in Gokula appeared most charming, with their abundant paraphernalia for worship of the sacrificial fire, the sun, unexpected guests, the cows, the Brahmins, the forefathers, and the demigods. On all sides lay the flowering forest, echoing with flocks of birds and swarms of bees, and beautified by its lakes, crowded with swans, Karandava ducks, and bowers of lotuses. So someone else pick up at 14, please. Maybe Maharaj, if you'd like to read now.
Okay.
Here you are.
Okay. As soon as Uddhava arrived at Nanda Maharaj's home, Nanda came forward to meet him. The cowherd king embraced him in great happiness and worshipped him as non-different from Lord Vasudeva. After Uddhava had eaten first-class food, been seated comfortably on a bed, and been relieved of his fatigue by a foot massage and other means, Nanda inquired from him as follows. Sri Nanda Maharaj Uvacha, my dear most fortunate one, how does the son of Sura fare? Does the son of Sura fare well now that he is free and rejoined his children and other relatives? Fortunately, because of his own sins, the sinful Kankra had been killed, along with all his brothers. He always hated the saintly and righteous Yadus. Does Krishna remember us? Does he remember his mother and his friends and well-wishers? Does he remember the cowherds and their village of Braja, of which he is the master? Does he remember the cows, Vrindavan forest, and Govardhan hill? Will Govardhan return even once? Will Govinda return even once to see his family? If he ever does, we may then glance upon his beautiful face and with his beautiful eyes, nose, and smile. We were saved from the forest fire, the wind, the rain, the bull, and serpent demons, from all of such insurmountable deadly dangers by that very great soul, Krishna. As we remember the wonderful deeds Krishna performed, his playful sidelong glances, his smiles, and his words, O Uddhava, we forget all our material engagements. When we see the places where Mukunda enjoyed his sporting pastimes, the rivers, hills, and forests he decorated with his feet, our minds become totally absorbed in him. In my opinion, Krishna and Balaram must be two exalted demigods who have come to this planet to fulfill some great mission of the demigods, such was foretold by Garga Rishi. After all, Krishna and Balaram killed Kamsa, who was as strong as 10,000 elephants, as well as the wrestlers Charnura, Moshtika, and the elephant Kuvalayapida. They killed them all sportingly, as easily as a lion disposes of small animals. With the ease of a royal elephant breaking a stick, Krishna broke a powerful giant bow 3 talas long. He also held a mountain aloft for 7 days with just one hand. Here in Vrindavan, Krishna and Balaram easily destroyed demons like Pralamba, Dhenuka, Arista, Trinavarta, and Baka, who had themselves defeated both the demigods and demons.
Beautiful. Okay, who's next? Thank you, Maharaj. It was very, very nice. Who would like to go next, please?
I can go, Prabhuji.
Hi, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sukadev Goswami said, thus intensely remembering Krishna again and again, Nanda Maharaja, his mind completely attached to the Lord, felt extreme anxiety and fell silent, overcome by the strength of his love. As Mother Yashoda heard the description of her son's activities, she poured out her tears, and milk flowed from her breast out of love. Uddhava then joyfully addressed Nanda Maharaj. Having clearly seen the supreme loving attraction he and Yashoda felt for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Uddhava said, O respectful Nanda, certainly you and Mother Yashoda are the most praiseworthy persons in the entire world, since you have developed such a loving attitude towards Lord Narayana, the spiritual master of all living beings. These two lords, Mukunda and Balarama, are each the seed and womb of the universe, the creator and his creative potency. They enter the hearts of living beings and control their conditioned awareness. They are the primeval supreme. Anyone, even a person in an impure state who absorbs his mind in him for just a moment at the time of death, burns up all traces of sinful reactions and immediately attains the supreme transcendental destination in a pure spiritual form as effulgent as the sun. You too have rendered exceptional loving service to him. Lord Narayan, the supersoul of all and the cause of all existence, the great soul who, although the original cause of everything, has a human-like form, what pious deeds could still be required of you? Infallible Krishna, the Lord of the devotees, will soon return to Vraja to satisfy his parents. Having killed Kamsa, the enemy of all the Yadus in the wrestling arena, Krishna will now surely fulfill his promise to you by coming back. O most fortunate ones, do not lament. You will see Krishna again very soon. He is present in the hearts of all living beings, just as fire lies dormant in wood. For him, no one is especially dear or despicable, superior or inferior, and yet he is not indifferent to anyone. He is free from all desires for respect and yet gives respect to all others. He has no mother, no father, no wife, no wife, children, or other relatives. No one is related to him, and yet no one is a stranger to him. He has no material body and no birth. He has no work to do in this world that would oblige him to take birth in pure, impure, or mixed species of life. Yet, to enjoy his pastimes and deliver his saintly devotees, he manifests himself. Hare Krishna.
Ah, that's very nice. Okay, Ranga.
Okay, I'll finish it up, I think.
Yep.
Okay. Although beyond the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the transcendental Lord accepts association with them as he plays. Thus, the unborn Supreme Lord utilizes the material modes to create, maintain, and destroy. Just as a person who is whirling around perceives the ground to be turning, one who is affected by false ego thinks himself the doer, when actually only his mind is acting. The Supreme Lord Hari is certainly not your son alone. Rather, being the Lord, he is the son, soul, father, and mother of everyone. Nothing can be said to exist independent of Lord Achyuta. Nothing heard or seen, nothing in the past, present, or future, nothing moving or unmoving, great or small. He indeed is everything, for he is the super soul. While Krishna's messenger continued speaking with Nanda, the night ended, O king. The women of the cowherd village rose from bed and lighting lamps worshipped their household deities. Then they began churning the yogurt into butter. As they pulled on the churning rope with their bangled arms, the women of Vraj shone with the splendor of their jewels, which reflected the lamp's light. Their hips, breast, and necklaces moved around, and their faces, anointed with reddish kumkuma, glowed radiantly with the luster of their earrings reflected from their cheeks. As the ladies of Vraj loudly sung the glories of lotus-eyed Krishna, their songs blended with the sound of their churning, ascended to the sky, and dissipated all inauspiciousness in every direction. When the godly sun had risen, the people of Vraj noticed the golden chariot in front of Nanda Maharaj's doorway. Who does this belong to? They asked. Perhaps Akrura has returned. He who fulfilled in Kamsa's desire by taking lotus-eyed Krishna to Mathura. Is he going to use our flesh to offer funeral oblations for his master, who was so satisfied with his service? As the women were speaking in this way, Uddhava appeared, having finished his early morning duties.
Wow, beautiful chapter, beautiful chapter. We're not going to read another chapter because the next chapter's got like 60 verses in it, and it would take a long time for us to do that. So we're just going to just lightly discuss this chapter. I'm sure everybody's got a point they want to make or talk about. It's fine. The first thing that comes to mind here is that when they saw this golden chariot in front of Nanda Maharaj's house, they thought it was a Akrura. Keep in mind that they didn't like Akrura very much because Akrura came to take Krishna away. And actually, Akrura was working for Kamsa, although he was in the great state of Dasharasa. If you read his meditation as he's going to Vrindavan, he is completely absorbed in thoughts of Krishna and the activities that are about to happen. As a matter of fact, so much so that when he enters Vrindavan, he jumps from his chariot because he sees Krishna's footprints and he rolls about like a madman on the ground, just to get Krishna's dust on his feet. So Akrura did come and he did take Krishna away, and all the gopis felt like their lives had been taken away. So they're not very happy with Akrura. So when they saw the chariot, they're thinking, oh no, here comes Akrura again. But Uddhava was on a completely different mission, wasn't he? Akrura, first of all, was a dear, dear friend of Krishna. And he came to deliver the message that Krishna had promised, which was what? Does anybody remember what Krishna promised as Akrura was driving him away on the chariot? What are Krishna's words? Does anybody know?
He'll come back.
Yeah, he said, I shall return. I shall return.
Kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I'm back.
I'll be back.
I'll be back. Oh, that's funny, Maharaj. Well, anyway, so now it's Uddhava, and of course, Uddhava is bringing a joyous message. Uddhava is bringing some happy news to everybody. The gopis didn't know that yet, so they might have been a little guarded when they first saw the chariot. But nonetheless, that's why they said, is he going to use our flesh to offer funeral oblations for his master? In other words, they were all abandoned in the world. It said that they appeared as figures in a painting, lifeless, after Krishna had left. And they stood there until the dust had cleared and tears rolling from their eyes, and they felt all vacant in the world. So this is the story, and we should be this attached to Krishna, obviously. If we knew who Krishna was, we would be attached to him. Arjuna gives a good description of who Krishna is in the Bhagavad Gita. You might be familiar with this verse in 12:13 in the Bhagavad Gita. It says, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram Paramam Bhavam, Purusham Shashvatam Divyam, Adidevam Majam Vibhum. And it means that Arjuna is saying that you are the supreme Brahman. You are the ultimate. No more ultimate beyond you. In other words, you're the supreme abode. You're the purifier. You're the absolute truth. You're the eternal divine person. And you're the primal God. The primal God. Transcendental and original. And you are the unborn and all-pervading beauty. All the great sages, such as Narada, Asita, Devala, Vyas, proclaim this of you, and now you yourself are proclaiming it to me. Or declaring it to me, not proclaiming, but declaring it, he is saying. So this is Krishna. This is his message Uddhava is bringing. Actually, Krishna took Uddhava's hands in his own and asked him to take this message to the gopis, because he had said in the earlier verses that Krishna is their very life, that he is their very, very life, and that for their sustenance, he needs to take this message to them, because somehow or the other, they're surviving in his absence. You remember that, where he says like that? He says, the gopis suffering in separation from me will be a little satisfied by receiving this message. So he explained that to them, that their minds are always absorbed, their lives are ever devoted. They've abandoned everything, their families, their bodies, they're renouncing ordinary happiness. They've given up everything. Even religious duties they've given up. Why? They don't even care about auspicious results for the next life. All they care about is Krishna. So they're not karmakandis, obviously. They're not looking for a better position in the material world. They don't care anything about the position they have in the material world. They've abandoned their families, shamelessly run to Krishna when they heard his flute. And so this is a transcendental arrangement. There's nothing material about this. This is pure, selfless, unadulterated, unalloyed, loving devotion without cessation for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the goal of every life. This is the goal of all creation. This is what it was created for, and somehow or another we've lost our way. So Krishna comes, and with Arjuna, he's explaining who he is, and he's demonstrating his original, his form to Arjuna, this universal form. And he's done this again and again and again in different incarnations, even in the incarnation of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's done this over and over. He displays himself. He just displayed himself to Akrura in the pond while he was taking bath. So Krishna is showing himself. He's showing it to Vasudeva Devaki when he appears in his four-armed form in the prison cell and becomes a little baby. He shows it to Mother Yasoda in her mouth for eating dirt. I mean, Krishna is showing his universal form. He's shown it multiple times to multiple people so that he can attract the minds of all living entities. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 10:8, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate iti madva bhajante bam buddha bhavas. Of all material and all spiritual worlds, everything emanates from me. Everything. The wise who know this, they know this information perfectly. They engage themselves in my devotional service and they worship me with all their hearts. So Krishna is just saying this about the gopis. He just explains this very carefully. He said they've abandoned all their religious duties and so forth. He said, I alone am their dear most beloved, and indeed their very self. Krishna says these words. Says, I personally take it upon me to sustain such devotees. So Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, for them who are devoted with me in love, I carry what they lack and preserve what they have. Krishna is very clear about his position on the matter. Bhagavad Dharma is the conclusion of all the religious scriptures. Selfless, unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of all life, of all creation. So Krishna is very clear about that. And he says, for the women specifically of Gokula, I'm their cherished object of love. I am their cherished object of love. And Krishna talks about that in Bhagavad Gita. For those whose minds are worship me with devotion, I come to them. I reveal myself to them. And ultimately they come to me. He says they're the topmost yogis. They're the highest of all, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So he sends Uddhava. Uddhava goes. I see this chapter is in 4 different sections, and I'll tell you what they are. The first one is where Uddhava arrives. After he arrives, he goes to Nanda's home. Nanda sets him down on a bed. He washes his feet. He worships him with various paraphernalia. He feeds him sumptuous foodstuffs. It says that he worshipped him like you would the personality of Godhead. Just like if an ambassador goes to another country, he's received as if he's the president or the monarch in the same way. Because that's his emissary, that's his messenger, that's his direct voice in his absence. Just like if a spiritual master is not present, his disciple speaking, people should understand. They should listen. Oh, he is speaking the words of the spiritual master. He's bringing us Prabhupada. He's bringing us this information. So he's an emissary. He's delivering the message on behalf of the spiritual master. He's not changing the message. He's giving the message as it is. And try to imagine how Akrura felt when he was getting ready to tell Krishna, I got to be honest with you. Kamsa sent me here to set you guys up for murder. He wants to murder you and Balaram. And then after he's done that, he's going to murder your mother and father on both sides. And he's going to kill your entire family. And he's going to even kill the king. He's going to erase your dynasty from the earth. So Akrura had to go to tell him this story. But Uddhava had a good message. Krishna, he says, is coming back. Krishna has not forgotten you. But before we get to that, the first section here is when he gets to Nanda's home and he's been worshipped and his foots have been massaged and all this kind of stuff. Nanda has some questions. So those questions are fairly important because he asks, does the son of Sura fare well now that he is free and has rejoined his children and other relatives? Fortunately, because of his own sins, the sinful Kamsa has been killed along with all his brothers. He always hated the saintly and righteous Yadus. So in text 18, if you look at it, this is what I wanted to share. There's a few verses here where he says this, and he says this probably in a tearful voice. Try to imagine Nanda in separation from Krishna. Here's a messenger. They're all alone. Nanda says, does Krishna remember us? Does he remember us? Does he remember his mother and his friends and his well-wishers here? Does he actually remember us? Does he remember the cowherds in the village of Braja? Does he wish us well in the village? He is our master. Does he remember the cows? Does he remember Vrindavan forest? Does he remember Govardhan Hill? So Nanda wants to know, will he ever return to see his family? If he ever does, he's going to be so happy because we're going to then get to see his beautiful face, his eyes, his nose, his smile. And then he recounts this beautiful thing. This is the next section, in my estimation, where he does this wonderful recount of the whole pastimes of the Lord in his youth in Vrindavan. Nanda does. And it's beautiful. And he says, as we remember the wonderful deeds and the Lord's playful sidelong glances and all, we forget our material and our worldly engagements. In other words, they transcend this material platform simply by remembering Krishna. And then when they go to places where Mukunda was playing and sporting, whether it be the rivers, the hills, the forest, or whatever it might be, they remember that those areas are decorated with his feet. And it causes their minds to be totally absorbed in Krishna. That's why we're building Vrindavan Forest, you guys. We're building it so that people's minds can be totally absorbed in Krishna. There's no other purpose in life. There's no other function. There's no other reason to exist. Certainly eat, sleep, mate, and defend will never satisfy. You simply grow old and die. You'll lose everything you wanted to hold on to dearly. You'll lose your youth. That's already happening. You'll lose your children. You'll lose your family. You'll lose your money. You'll lose your house. You'll lose your life. So what is later we talk about what Uddhava says. Let's just hold it back for a second. I'll tell you what Uddhava has to say about that. But anyway, they still are in a state of Yogamaya. They're thinking that Krishna and Balaram must be some kind of special demigods or something. So they go in and out of this clarity and Yogamaya back and forth, because this is nothing but a big play that the Lord has created for his pastimes for the benefit of his devotees. He benefits even the non-devotees. Everybody follows Krishna's path in all respects, he says in Bhagavad Gita. And what does that mean? It means that no matter how you come to Krishna, he accepts your service because he's equal to everyone. He has no special friends. He has no enemies. If you come and do some service, he's a friend in you. You're a friend in him. Krishna explains that in Bhagavad Gita very, very carefully. So whatever way you want to approach the Lord, of course, in our sampradaya, we're told to approach the Lord favorably through the spiritual master, following the instructions of the spiritual master very carefully, and that will please the Lord. We don't know how to separately serve the Lord. We're das, honor, das, millions of times removed. We don't know anything about the Lord. We offer everything to the Guru. The Guru then offers it to his sampradaya all the way back to Krishna. And therefore the mail gets delivered, in other words, and the Lord receives the message. So they've come to fulfill some great mission, is what they've come to a conclusion. But then they go over the whole story about how he killed Kamsa. And by the way, Kamsa has been the center of this story for the whole time almost. But you know, Krishna didn't give him much really credence when he killed him. He just drug him off the dais, took him down in the mat, and just punched him to death, just quickly. It wasn't even a big thing, you know, like he didn't cut him in half or bifurcate him, or like Nishring had pulled the intestines out and wrapped it around. Like, he didn't do any of that. He just pulled him down and just killed him with a punch and then drug him around like a big lion. But even though he was so hateful and mean and trying to kill Krishna and set him up with all these evil things, he received a self-same body, effulgent like the sun, it says, which is his four-armed form of Narayan. Obviously, he was went to Vaikuntha and not to Goloka. But nonetheless, it talks about how he killed Chanara Mustika, the elephant, Kuvalaya Pida. And then he talks about how it's no problem for Krishna. These are simple things for him, not an issue. It's like an elephant breaking a stick. It's nothing. And then he held a mountain aloft for 7 days. He killed so many demons like Pralambra, Denakasura, Arishta, Trinavarta, Baka. I mean, he just goes through the whole list about that. And these actual demons were so great that they had defeated the demigods and all the other demons. And Krishna took them out very, very easily. And you can read those stories and see just how Krishna did that, which is very wonderful. And then they're remembering Krishna. And that's what this is really all about, isn't it? So it says that he felt, after remembering these stories, he felt completely attached to the Lord, and extreme anxiety he felt, and he fell silent, overcome by the strength of his love for the Lord. So, Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim, in the Chaitanya Shishastikam, he says, we don't want anything in the material world. We don't want women. We don't want wealth. We don't want followers. We don't want anything. We just want Krishna. That's all we want. And when will I? Nayanam Galarasradaya, Vadanam Gadgada Rudayagira, Pulakar Nichitamba Pukada, Tava Namagrahane Bhavishati. When will we actually choke up? When will we actually feel these types of moods? And when we see that Nanda's overwhelmed, he's the king of Raja. And he's all crying and such. Now, Mother Yasoda heard the descriptions of her son's activity. She starts lactating. She starts pouring out milk from her breast. Tears are pouring from her eyes. These people are dedicated, attached to the Lord. We have to somehow or the other become attached to Krishna. That's it. Everything has to be offered to the Lord. Everything. All that you do, all that you offer, all that you give away should be done as a sacrifice to me. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yagyarta karma nonyacha loko yam karma bandhana. Krishna says if you don't do it, it's going to lead you to repeated birth and death. So get in line in the bhakti train. Get on the train, guys. It's the soul train. Get on the soul train and ride it back home, back to Godhead. So he goes on and he tells how blessed they are because they've developed this loving attitude. And so what I love about this verse is so important. I want to read this verse in its entirety to you, if you don't mind. And you can read it with me, text 32 and 33. This is a wonderful, wonderful statement here. And it says that anyone, even a person who is in impure state, even if they're in an impure state, who absorbs his mind in him just for a moment at the time of death, burns up all traces of sinful reactions and immediately attains to the supreme transcendental destination in a pure spiritual form as effulgent as the sun. Can anybody name one incident where that happened? Anybody know?
Jamil?
Thank you. There you go. So, and there are many others also. So the idea behind this is to remember the Lord at the time of death. Krishna says, Antakale chamam avyam samaram mukva kalevara. And whatever one remembers at the time he quits his body, if he remembers me alone, at once he attains to my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Krishna is saying this in Bhagavad Gita, that for anyone who remembers him at the time of death, they attain the self-same body. And then he goes on to say, Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tijanti ante kalevaram. So he's saying whatever state of being one remembers, at that state he will attain without fail. Krishna is very careful to explain that in Bhagavad Gita because these are extremely important points. So in this situation, it's being repeated again. Anyone, even a person in an impure state who absorbs his mind just for a moment at the time of death, burns up every trace. Now, you can't cheat Krishna, right? He's the of gambling, of cheats, he is gambling, okay? So you're not going to mess with Krishna. He's smarter than all of us. And nobody's going to take advantage of Krishna. But if you've done service for him, even if you forget him at the time of death, Prabhupada said that he will not forget you. Krishna will not forget you. You may forget Krishna because the fever's too high or too sick or this or that. But Krishna will not forget you. He will remember you at the time of death for the service that you've done. So Nanda has gone through the whole Bhagavatam, story of Krishna in the 10th canto anyway, and covered it all so nicely. And then he tells them Krishna's going to return. Do not lament. Do not worry. You will see Krishna very soon. Of course, and then he goes on to say this wonderful philosophy that if anybody reads this philosophy, it's really from about text 30 to about text 42, where he just goes crazy and just starts like laying it out. He said, what I really love is he tells them, he said, you two, he's talking about Nanda and Yasoda, he said, you two have rendered exceptional loving service to him, Lord Narayan, super soul cause of all existence. And although he's down here in a human-like form, he's the original cause of everything. And what pious deeds could still be required of you? He goes on to say that infallible Krishna, the Lord of devotees, will return soon to satisfy his parents. So he's giving them that information. But then he goes on and he does this wonderful philosophical explanation starting in 37. He says, for Krishna, no one is especially dear or despicable, superior or inferior, and yet he is not indifferent to anyone. He is free from all desires for respect, and yet he gives respect to all others. Now, the best example I can think of that is Putna. Putna came to kill Krishna. She liked to eat babies. She, it's like them witches that boil the pot. She's a big time demon. Her body was 8 miles long after she was killed. She took down the forest in all directions, guys. Okay? Because when Nanda was coming back from paying taxes to Kansa, he couldn't believe it. The whole place was in a wreck. They were seeing this on the road on the way home. And what did Krishna do to his so-called murderer? What did he do? He gave her liberation because she offered her breast and he accepted her as a mother. So you see how Krishna is. He said he has no mother, no father, no wife, no children, and no other relatives. No one is related to him, and yet no one is a stranger to him. He has no material body. He has no birth. Of course, we understand from Bhagavad Gita, that whole story, right? Everybody understands that we're unborn, undying, immutable, eternally the same, right? Najayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavita va nabuya. Ajo nitya shashvato yang parano nahanyate hanyamane sarire. Krishna says, for the soul, there is never birth nor death, nor having once been does he ever cease to be. He's unborn, eternal, undying, ever existing, primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. So these are all informations that we should avail ourselves of. And by doing so, we can become liberated. So in listening to what Uddhava has to say, he says, the Supreme Lord Hari is not your son alone. All right? In other words, he didn't just belong to you guys. Rather, he is the son, the soul, the father, and the mother of everyone. He is our very self, indeed. So, guys, after Uddhava gets through with this wonderful explanation, he said it's just really all his play. It's just all Krishna's play. He's the supreme soul. He's the soul of every soul. At that time, night ended, or the night came, and the women began to finish churning their butter, doing all these things. And that's when the gopis came out the next morning, and they saw the chariot. And we started with that as the first part of the story tonight, where they thought it was a Krura. They were getting angry already. What's he coming to get our flesh now? I mean, he's already taken away our life. Now he wants our flesh. So what a great story. We just got to get delighted hearing these pastimes and become attached to the Lord. We all need a superhero, right? I mean, there's a song, I need a hero, fresh from the fight. Well, Krishna was definitely fresh from the fight. We just went through the Bhishma Panchaka, and we said that he was sitting there and saw Krishna sprinkle with sweat and blood from his arrows that were filled with love for the Lord in that particular mood. Krishna even accepted that devotional service of Bhishma shooting him full of arrows. God is bigger than we think, guys. God is bigger than we think. So he goes on, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita in 435, so when you have learned the truth, you will know that all beings are but simply a part of me, and that they are actually in me, and that they are mine. I think that's the end of the story. I'm not sure if there's something to add to that, but if you want to, go for it. Tell me something else good. I want to know, man. This is too good. So I hope everybody's enjoying the story as much as I am, because I am really having fun with this stuff. Maharaj.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. You're a Brahmin. Yeah. Hearing from you, all anxiety goes away. Yeah. No, because our name, Hanumat Preshak, right? Yeah. Hanuman, Bhagavan, Bhagavat. Hanumat means of Hanuman. Bhagavat means of Bhagavan. Okay. And Preshak, you know what Preshak means?
I thought Preshaka was the mercy of. Am I wrong?
Yeah, you're wrong.
I thought it was the power of the mercy. I guess I am wrong. Sorry.
No.
You would know.
In India, they used to have these little blue letters. You could fold up and then email them for 1 rupee or 20 paisa or something. Communications, and maybe they would get there. But on the back it said Preshak ka naam hai, the name of sender. You're supposed to write your name there. Okay, so Hanumat Preshak is?
Hanuman's name?
No,
Hanuman.
He's the sender.
yeah, he's the sender with a message of Hanuman. Yeah,
Harimo!
yeah. So it's Ramchandra.
You
Yeah,
got
yeah.
something. You got something lined up here with, with this story. Then you
Well,
definitely do.
you just got to do very simple. Then what is the name for Krishna?
What are you asking, Maharaj?
What Uddhava?
Ah,
The messenger.
Yeah,
that's right.
Uddhava Prashak. Uddhava Prashak. Hanuman
I like
Prashak.
that.
Uddhava.
Very
Oh,
Yeah,
good, Maharaj.
yeah.
Thank you.
Because okay, then Uddhava is going, on a message, to deliver a message to the gopis and everything else. The parallels are so nice. It helps like me thinking about this. So when Uddhava was going there, was he thinking about Hanuman? Was he thinking, hey, I'm on this mission, this is going to be difficult, whatever, and how can I do this and that? And Hanuman was sent by Ram with the same thing to deliver a message to his consort, and he trusts me so much with this. So anyway, that's one thing ourselves. We just, take it really like this pastime because it gives a perspective, for our name, and try to meditate on that as a gift from Prabhupada, and we can do some service in that perspective.
Very
Ja,
nice.
Srila Prabhupada. Ja.
Jai, Jai, Maharaj. Yeah. Well, if you think of Hanuman, if you think of you, actually, if you think of your name, it's all successful because Hanuman is the greatest servant of Ram. And when you think about that, he's still in the actual universe. He's in the material universe with us somewhere. Where's he at, Maharaj? You would know. Where's Hanuman?
He's on Gandhamadan Mountain.
There you go. And where's that located, Maharaj?
I think it's one of these kind of places like the Devil's Triangle, where
not,
where,
not up by Kailash or anything, is no.
yeah. There are places like when you start climbing and this and that. When the beginning of Kali Yuga, when the Pandavas were there in exile, at one point they were staying someplace, and some very very nice fragrance of flowers was coming down, and so then Draupadi asked Bhima to go and try and find some, the flowers and this. So he started heading up the pathway, and it's not only like you have to give up your consciousness. You got to change your consciousness when you start walking on the church property. You start walking in the church. When you start going up for the communion, yeah, you're changing your whole consciousness in your body and everything else. So he's going up higher and higher, and then finally he sees a very, very, very old monkey, big, sleeping on one side of the road. His tail's across the road. You know this story?
I'm not sure, Maharaj. You know it, Vamsi? Vamsi, look, he's smiling.
Yeah.
Yes, Maharaj.
And so he doesn't want to step across this old guy's thing. He says, "Can you move your tail?" And the old monkey says, "Oh, I'm just too tired. You lift it up." So Bhima then lifts it, can't lift it. He lifts it up, even more and more frustrated. And finally he says, "Who are you?" And he says, I'm Hanuman. So of course they're both sons of the wind god. So they're embracing everything else. And there's a whole story about how Hanuman says, "I'll help you. I can do this. I can't do that." But that's where he is. And it's just a place apparently you can access it from the physical world, from Bhumandala. But as you progress in your body, you've got to give it up and become more purified and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you're in the subtle elements. Then your body becomes mind, intelligence. You go like
Yeah.
that. Now, there's one story that reminds me of what you're saying when Ram was getting ready to go invade Sri Lanka, right? So there's a temple built there where this place is. I've just read about it not too long ago, and it says that you have to go through I believe it's 9 different inner gates, and in each gate you become more purified because you have to bathe in each one. You have to chant certain mantras to clean yourself. It's like what you're talking about, Maharaj. So before you get to actually go get the darshan of the deity, you've already taken 9 purificatory baths at this temple, and this is in South India somewhere. So I thought that was pretty cool because it's like you're saying, as you're ascending, you're becoming more and more purified. And in our situation, we're going from the mode of ignorance to the mode of passion, hopefully the mode of goodness, and then we're going to the mode of pure goodness. we pray. So that's the idea. So very good, Maharaj. Thank you very much for that. That's very nice, you know. Now, Vamsi, you probably got some nectar. I know Vamsi. Look at Vamsi. He's got a smile on his face.
I was just thinking about Uddhava. He is the disciple of Brahaspati, who is like the priest of the demigods or the Devatas. So it said that he was trained by Brahaspati, and then he is, of course, a great devotee of Krishna, but he was always in the mood of awe and reverence. And Krishna, always he does something. He has modes of multiple things to accomplish. So when he sent Uddhava, he wanted Uddhava to taste the pure bhakti of those in Vrindavan, and also, pacify the separation that they were having. So Uddhava goes to Vrindavan, and he's actually learning the pure love of the Brajvasis. Like, and I know you have told us before about the different rasas of Vatsalya that Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj has, and we see that how exalted it is, and then we hear about the gopis as well, like because they are the topmost, and I've heard that Uddhava later in Bhagavatam we find that I think it's after Gopi Gita, or he says that he just wants to become a creeper in Vrindavan just to get the dust of the lotus feet of these gopis. So it's actually a trip of purification for Uddhava as well to taste the highest form of bhakti.
Well, and if you go back to the first few verses in this chapter, when Uddhava's coming into town, he's talking about all of this activity that's going on in Vrindavan. I mean, he describes Vrindavan in such a way that you could actually make that your meditation all day, every day, and you would be in a state of perfection. You'd be Brahman realized. I mean, literally just by remembering what he was saying, because he was talking about how the cowherd the bulls were there. They were in rut. They were looking for fertile cows. They were chasing after the cows. The noise of milking, jumping here and there. A lot of flute playing going on, apparently, singing the all auspicious glories of the Lord. All the men and women were singing about Krishna and Balaram. He talks about this and how their village was resplendent with all this paraphernalia to worship even a guest. The guest is coming, they're going to worship the guest. They're set up for worship, the sacrificial fire, the sun, unexpected guests, the cows, the Brahmins, the forefathers, the demigods. They were ready to go, bro. They were in a position where they were ready to respect all living entities. It's just like, we hear, that we're supposed to be feeling ourselves lower than straw in the street, but offering all respects to others, but expecting none in return. That's the idea. And they exemplified that. And it also talks about the flocks of birds, the flowering forest, the swans, the lakes, the duck. He even talks about ducks, Maharaj. I don't know if you saw that. Karandava ducks. Do you know what that is? You know what a Karandava is, Maharaj? He's gone.
No, I don't, but I did notice it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you always bring up Bacchus, you bring up the bifurcated duck, but I want you to start bringing up these Karandava ducks when you think of Vrindavan.
No, you can have them both there, and then you can have one little place where it has Krishna, a statue or something, and the story bifurcating Bakasura. You could even have maybe a competition thing where people strongmen try and open the mouth of Bakasura.
Wow. We should have a destination like Mathura with the bow and let everybody try to break the bow. And well, we should set up all this stuff. It could be wonderful. No, but you're right. It's wonderful when you remember Bakasura got his bill bifurcated by the Lord. These are perfected stories that perfect everybody. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9:14, he says, Satatam kirtaniyanto mang yatantascha dridha brata mamayantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta apasate. And he says that these devotees are always chanting my glories. They're always endeavoring with great determination. They're always bowing down before me. And these great souls, they perpetually worship me with love and devotion. So we're reading all about these great souls, and we're understanding their mood and how their voices are choked up and how their tears are flowing from their eyes. And the women have such this vatsalya rasa that we talked about, where the milk is pouring for Krishna. And this is the way that we should try to remember our Lord. And if we can do that, then that's called Krishna consciousness. Haribol. Wouldn't that be nice? We could be Krishna conscious. Then we could be a part of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Anything else, Vamsi? That's sweet.
Thank you so much. And like you said, with all those descriptions, they were still singing the pastimes of Krishna and Balaram, and not anything else. Like today, if we go to Vrindavan, I think you can hear movie songs now. But like with the actual Vrajvasis, they are always singing glories of Krishna.
Yes. Well, I hope they stop that, because Chandra was telling me the last time he went to India, he couldn't find a place to get away from the loudspeakers.
Mhm.
And that's a problem. You know, the loudspeakers with Bollywood music is not why I'm going to India. I want to be Krishna conscious. I mean, they're destroying it. If you want to make America, do it here. Don't do it there.
Yeah.
We're trying to escape.
Mhm.
There was a movie called Escape from New York. Remember that movie? I don't know if you ever heard of it, but they're trying to get out of the place because it's such a hell. You see what I'm saying? We're creating a hellish environment with this industrial, atheistic society of scientists who are trying to explain everything without God.
Mhm.
And they're detaching us from the Lord further and further and further with this industrial nonsense and with this so-called scientific information, which is truly atheism cloaked and so-called uh, experiential or experimental knowledge. Come on. It's all speculation anyway. With their little microscope, they can't see. They can't see what's in the universe. They see a light out there. They don't know what's on that light. They're going, oh, look, there's a light in the sky.
Mhm.
That's about how good they've gotten. I mean, we got a little closer. We can now see some outlines of the planets and this and that, very, very little bit. What use is it? What
Mhm.
would you want to go to Neptune or something? I mean, you want to go to Pluto? It's going to be pretty cold. They want to terraform Mars and move to Mars. It's a desert planet. Who wants to, who wants to spend trillions of dollars to go there? This guy blew up the last 8 rockets. These are multi-billion-dollar machines that are flying into space and they explode.
Mhm.
And he's spending unlimited billions of dollars to what? Take you to Mars?
Mhm.
Why?
Yeah.
Eat? Sleep? What are you going to do there? Have sex life? Come on, man. I
Mhm.
mean, my God. I don't even want to do it here.
Mhm.
Not really. So, because, if you eat too much or you eat too little, you're miserable. You have to eat the exact right amount of food for you not to be miserable. Did you
Mhm.
know that? Most people eat, oh, I got to have 3 meals a day. Come on,
Mhm.
The Goswamis had 1 pound of fresh milk a day, and they lived on that. So we don't need all this stuff we're doing. It's all for sense gratification. But anyway, these stories are nectar, and it's too bad that the whole world can't just be absorbed in this, and they will. Chaitanya era is coming. We're just all, voices crying in the wilderness out here, and we're going to keep doing it. We're just going to keep doing it. We'll just preach right here to the little thing right here. See that little thing right there? We'll just preach to that thing. We don't care. I mean, we're absorbing ourselves in Krishna conscious for this period of time during a day. And if we can remember some of these stories, maybe we'll be a little more Krishna conscious during the day and at night while we're dreaming and this and that. And this is our goal in life. So if we can leave this message behind and somebody would actually avail themselves of it, they have no idea what Krishna's got in store for them, which is wonderful things beyond their wildest imagination. If you think the universe here in the material world is pretty spectacular, you might want to check out the spiritual sky before it's over. So that's my story, guys. I'm sticking to it. Mamsi, I wish you could come up and hang out with us more. We miss your transcendental association.
Oh. Prabhuji, did you talk to someone who's coming from California? One Hugo, he was asking me. He's
Geraldo?
visiting, and you
Geraldo
gave him my.
Raul Allende?
I think
Yes.
so. He said he's Bhakta Hugo. He sent me a message. He's in Memphis, downtown, which is like 45 minutes from here.
Oh, okay.
I invited him to come over tomorrow or day after. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
well, listen, I get calls all the time, and we get calls, and people are going, "Do you know anybody in Memphis?" And I go, "Well, okay, well, I mean, what can you do? You just have to try to share,
Yeah.
Information, and maybe get a little association. In my home, we used to have people come through and just crash out all the time. We'd have sanctum parties slopped around everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We just and listen, my wife was not favorable to it either. She was at first, but then she realized the devotees are a little messy. I think you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, it's all right. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And thank you for serving the Vaishnava any way you can, because that's a wonderful thing. I mean, we should always offer some nice prasad or, some comfort to the Vaishnavas when they're coming through. And in Nashville, we want them all to come and stay at Vrindavan for us when anyone comes. They'll have a place they can stay, And you too, Vamsi. We got the Vamsi Vilas suite.
My wife would allow me to go.
All right. Well, Vamsi, you're a stalwart devotee. Sometimes it just comes down to, are you going to do it or not? You know what I mean? You got to do it or not. Some people don't, some do. What can you do? It's a beautiful thing. We're going to figure out ways to encourage. Rangavati and I had a long meeting earlier today. She was finally chastised by her husband because she had to get off the phone. But we were discussing how to spread Krishna consciousness to the Westerners. And we've come up with a few concepts we'll share with you at some other time, Vamsi. But for tonight, we're already a few minutes over.
Yes.
I don't see the clock. But anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for being here tonight. And for you future people who hear these words, please take these things to heart and make it your life, make it your soul, make it your world, make it your mission, make it your goal, make it your everything. Make Krishna your everything. And then you'll finally be happy. Otherwise, there's no hope. Hope against hope, what Prabhupada said. Actually, that hope against hope came from Prahlad Maharaj. And chewing the chewed came from Prahlad Maharaj. There were several wonderful expressions that Prahlad Maharaj had. And those are a few. Okay, so I'm going to sign off. Chant with me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare
Hare. Thank you, guys. I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hari Bol.
Well, everybody.